Hi guys, good morning. Can you all see the slides?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning.
Good morning. You guys can see the slides, right?
Yes, ma'am. We can see.
Okay. All right. So let me go into the presentation mode. Let's see if you can see it. Can you all see it in the presentation mode, guys? Or is it black?
Is it black, ma'am? Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Black.
All right. Let's wait few seconds to see whether it gets okay or not.
Still no.
Still no, right? So let me try it once. Let's try once more. How about now, guys? Is it still black or what
Still
now?
black, ma'am.
All right. So guys, then I think we can like we'll do it this way. Okay, so guys, can you guys see the content in the slides? Can you all see the words and the
Yes,
letters
ma'am.
clearly?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Okay, then no worries. We can go in this mode. Okay, so guys, yeah. So as I told in our last week's class, we are done with the communication module. Okay, so that subject communication in caring, communication in caring professions, it's over. We have covered the syllabus, we have covered the content. So we are done with that module. Okay, so the only thing remaining for that module is the assignment that I have issued, which is due on 7th of September. Okay, so I hope all of you guys are working on it. Okay, so if you have any questions, any clarifications or any doubts, that if there are any doubts about the assignment, we can discuss those doubts at the end of this lecture. Okay, so once I finish this lecture, we can take the last 5-10 minutes to discuss about the doubts that you have about the assignment, if you have any doubts. Okay, so yeah. Okay, so from today onwards, we will start a new subject called resource management in health and social care. Okay, so I gave an overview about this subject in your orientation as well. Okay, so so the two subjects that I'm teaching you guys are communication in the caring professions and resource management in health and social care. So since we are done with the communication module, from today onwards, we'll be starting the new subject, this subject, resource management in health and social care. Okay, so I introduced this subject to you guys in the orientation as well, but orientation happened just few months ago. So I thought of briefing you about this subject before I start the lecture. Okay, so because you might not remember what this subject is about, since the orientation happened in somewhere in June, right? So just few months ago. So you might have forgotten the kind of things that you will learn in this subject. So that's why before I start the lecture, I thought of briefly introducing this subject to you guys. Okay, so introducing means just showing you guys what are the learning outcomes to be covered, and what kind of content we will be learning in this subject, and the assignment, what kind of an assignment will you get for this subject, all of that. Okay, so let's go for the specifications. Okay, so let me zoom this in. Okay, so these are the I took this directly from the OTHM specifications. Okay, so you can see the name of the subject. Unit title is Resource Management in Health and Social Care. Unit level is 4 because this is a level for diploma. And then a number of credits, total qualification time, guided learning hours. Those information you can see in this table. And then this is a mandatory subject. So mandatory means a compulsory subject. Okay, this is not an optional subject. This is a compulsory subject. It is compulsory for you to do this subject in order to get your level 4 diploma. Okay, and yeah, the subject area is health and social care, and the unit grading type is pass and fail, same as the communication module. Okay, so you will be graded either as pass or fail. Okay, so there are no A, B, C, D grades for this subject. Just like your communication module, for this module also you will be graded as either pass or fail. Okay, so now and there will be only one assignment. Okay, the outline of the subject is same, guys. As you can see, there are for communication module also we had 4 learning outcomes, and for this resource management module also we have 4 learning outcomes. Okay, and for communication we had 1 assignment. For this one also we had we have one assignment. For communication, it was for communication module it was a written assignment, and for this one also we have a written assignment. Okay, so and pass fail. So the outline of the subject is almost the same, just the content and the name of the subject is different. Okay, so like the outline of the subject remains the same. Okay, so just like your communication module, for this module also you will be graded either as pass or fail. Okay, so there are 4 learning outcomes. Okay, so these are the 4 learning outcomes. The first learning outcome is this: know about the purpose and objectives of human resource management. Okay, so the first learning outcome is basically about human resource management. And under the first learning outcome, there are 2 assignment criteria. Okay, so you can see the 2 assignment criteria under first learning outcome. Okay, so these are the 2 assignment criteria under first learning outcome. Explain the purpose of human resource management, explain the objectives of human resource management. Okay, so those are the 2 assignment criteria under first learning outcome. Okay, so in your first learning outcome, you will basically learn about what is human resource management, what kind of things are happening in human resource management, and what are the purposes and objectives of human resource management. Okay, so that's about first learning outcome. And then we can see, you guys can see the second learning outcome: understand key aspects of managing others in the workplace. Okay, so yeah, so when we are working in a workplace, we deal with different people, right? We deal with managers, and we deal with so managers are the people who are at a higher level than us. Okay, and we deal with colleagues. Colleagues are at the same level like us. Colleagues means the friends in the same level. Okay, so I mean, colleagues can be in the same level or higher level higher level or in a lower level as well. Colleagues means your co-workers basically. Okay, so you deal with like different people in your workplace, right? You deal with managers, you deal with supervisors, um, um, or else you deal with like you deal with like lower level workers like cleaners. Likewise, we deal with different types of people in the workplace, right? So in the second learning outcome, you will learn how to manage all these kinds of people in your workplace, how to manage others in the workplace. How can you manage other people in the workplace and how can you deal with them when you are working at your workplace? Okay, so under this learning outcome, there are 5 assignment criteria. Okay, there are 5 assignment criteria. So these are the assignment criteria under learning outcome 2. Describe management and leadership styles. You will learn about management styles and leadership styles. And then in the importance of supervision and appraisal, and the importance of recruitment and retention of staff, and describe the theories of team development, and analyze how to manage the impact of change. Okay, so these are the 5 assignment criteria under learning outcome 2. Okay, so you guys will learn about these topics under learning outcome 2. And then we have learning outcome 3. Understand the regulation and inspection of health and social care services. Okay, so learning outcome 3 is about the regulation and inspection of health and social care services. Okay, so under this learning outcome, you will learn about the regulatory system that underpins service delivery, and describe the process of inspection for health and social care services. Okay, so there are 2 assignment criteria under learning outcome 3. These are the 2 assignment criteria under learning outcome 3. So you will learn these 2 topics under learning outcome 3. Okay, and then we have the last learning outcome 4. Understand the management of financial resources. Okay, so learning outcome 4 is basically about the management of financial resources. How do you manage financial resources at your workplace? Okay, so under learning outcome 4, there are 4 assignment criteria. Okay, so these are the 4 assignment criteria. Explain the principles of budget management, analyze the systems used to manage finances in the health and social care, explain the sources of funds available, analyze factors affecting funding allocation. Okay, so these are the 4 assignment criteria under learning outcome 4. Okay, so you guys will learn about these topics under learning outcome 4. Okay, so that's it about learning outcomes and assignment criteria. So altogether, there are 4 learning outcomes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 assignment criteria. Okay, so there are 4 learning outcomes and 13 assignment criteria. Okay, so and the assessment. Okay, so guys, you don't have to worry about this assessment now, because the one that you have to worry about is the communication assessment, because that is the upcoming assessment. So for this assessment, you will get much later. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it now. Yeah, so for this module also, you have to do one assessment. Okay, so to get a pass, to achieve a pass for this subject, your assessment should cover all the 4 learning outcomes and all the 13 assessment criteria. Okay, so assessment type will be coursework. It will be a written assessment. And word count is 3000 words. Okay, so everything is same as the communication assessment. Okay, 3000 words, coursework, written assessment, all the learning outcomes and all the assessment criteria should be covered in order for you to achieve a pass for this subject. Okay, so which means you have to, when you do the assessment, you have to write your assessment in a way that it covers all the 4 learning outcomes and all these 13 assessment criteria. Then only you will get a pass for this subject. Okay. And Yeah. Okay, so for example, if you cover only 3 learning outcomes or out of 4, it will go as a fail because all the learning outcomes should be covered and there are 4 learning outcomes. So if you covered only 3, it will be a fail. And assessment criteria, right? So there are 13 assessment criteria in this subject. So you have to cover all the assessment criteria to get a pass for this subject. So if you covered only 12 assessment criteria out of 13 in your assessment, then still it will be a fail because there are 13 to be covered. Okay, so basically, as you already know, all the learning outcomes and all the assessment criteria should be covered in your assessment for you to achieve a pass for this subject. Okay, so more details about the assessment, guys, I will give you much later. You will, because we have to cover at least 2 learning outcomes or 3 learning outcomes to issue an assessment. So when I issue the assessment, I will tell you what the assessment is about. Is it an essay? Is it a report? Is it an article? Whatever. The whatever the more details, more information about the assessment, I will tell you once I issue the assessment. Okay, so for now, I just wanted to show you that there is one assessment which carries 3000 words and it should cover all the learning outcomes and all the assessment criteria. Okay, so that's all you are supposed to know at the moment. More information we can discuss later when I issue the assignment. Okay, and also guys, there is an indicative reading list. Okay, so these are the resources suggested by the author itself. Okay, so as you can see, they have suggested 5 sources as the indicative reading list. Okay, so you can try to so some of these are articles, some of these are books. Okay, so you can try to search these materials on the internet. Just type the name. I mean, just type this in and try to search in Google. Okay, so these resources will be helpful for you in the process of learning this subject. Okay, so not only for doing the assessment, but also to understand the subject, these resources will be helpful. Okay, so yeah, so because these resources carry additional information about the subject. Okay, so the indicative reading list you can see over here. And then the author has provided you some additional resources as well. So as you can see, there are 2 websites mentioned. Okay, so these 2 websites are also useful for you to learn this subject. I mean, these websites also carry additional information about this subject. So you can uh, try these 2 websites as well. Okay, so I have given you the URL here, this one and this one. So you can use them as additional resources as well. Okay, so guys, that's all about the overview of the subject. So now I hope you have an idea about a little bit of an idea about this subject, as in what kind of things you are going to learn in this subject and all. So I hope it's clear. I just wanted to give you a very small overview about the subject to make you aware of the subject, to for you to know what kind of things that you are going to learn in this subject. Okay, so we are done with that part. I'm done with the overview. So now we can move on to our actual lecture. Okay, so guys, give me 1 second. Okay, all right. So yeah. Okay, so let me go back to the first learning outcome. Okay, so the first learning outcome for this module is know about the purpose and objectives of human resource management. Okay, and under that learning outcome, there are 2 assessment criteria. Explain the purpose of human resource management, explain the objectives of human resource management. Okay, so guys, so before learning about the purpose and the objectives of human resource management, you should learn what is human resource management, right? I mean, there is no point of learning about the purpose and objectives without knowing what is human resource management in the first place. Okay, so today's lecture is based on human resource management. Okay, so these are the topics that we will be discussing in today's lecture. So I will teach you what are human resources, what is human resource management, and what are HRM components or human resource management components. Okay, so these are the 3 main topics that you will be learning in today's lecture. Okay, so today you will learn what is human resource management and what kind of things happen in human resource management. Okay, so today you will learn that part. And in the next week, I will teach you the purposes and the objectives of human resource management. Okay, these 2 topics. Okay, so these 2 topics will be taught next week. For today, you will learn about human resource management, an introduction to human resource management. What is it and how does it happen? Okay, because you should know what is human resource management before you learn about its purposes and objectives. Okay, so let's start off the lecture with human resource management. Okay, so yeah, so firstly we will discuss about human resources. What are human resources? And then we will discuss what is human resource management. And we will also lastly discuss about HRM components. Okay, so human resource management components. Okay. So guys, human. So first of all, we can discuss what are human resources. So first of all, let's see what are human resources. So human resources are shortly called HR. Okay, so guys, before I teach you, according to your understanding, what are human resources? Like what can, if I ask you to give a small definition for human resources, how will you define that word?
I think actually, if any profession or any uh, kind of job who specialize some work or something, that was a human resource. It was a human resource.
Okay, that's a really good answer, Janaka. Yes. Okay, so human, do we have any more answers? Yeah, you guys can, if you want. I mean, I encourage you to speak, but if you are hesitant to speak, you can type in the chat as well. I will read your answers. So can, yes. Yes.
It is the practice of hiring and managing organization or workplace.
Okay, that's a really,
Employees.
yes, Taranga, that's a really good answer as well. Yes, so that is what we do in human resource management. Okay, so we are like as you said, recruiting and managing your staff. It falls under human resource management. Okay, and then that's a good answer, Taranga. And Mithni has answered in the chat. The personnel of a business or organization regarded as a significant asset in terms of skills and abilities. Okay, yes, that's a really good answer, Mithni. Yes. Okay, so yeah, so a person who is I mean, a person who is involved in a business or an organization, uh, who is regarded as an asset in terms of their skills and abilities. So yes, we can use that definition for human resources. Okay, so let me go back to the slides. Okay, so all right, so guys, so you defined human resources really well. So, so this is a simple definition for human resources. Okay, so human resources, we shortly call it HR. Okay, so human resources are the people an organization employs to carry out various jobs, tasks, and functions in exchange of wages, salaries, and other rewards. Okay, so human resources, so very simply, human resources means basically the humans or the people in your workplace. Okay, so human resources means the humans or the people in your workplace. Okay, so that is the simplest definition that we can give for human resources. Okay, so why do we have people? Why do we have human beings in an organization, in a workplace? To carry out various jobs and tasks and functions, right? So why do we recruit people? Why do we hire human beings to an organization? To perform various jobs, tasks, and functions. Okay, so what do you get in return for carrying out these jobs, tasks, and functions? Okay, so you have an organization. You have an organization to perform various jobs, tasks, and functions in this organization. You hire people to your organization. You recruit or you hire people, right? So people join your organization if there is anything, if only if there is something that they get in return, right? Like people are obviously not willing to work for free, right? People will join your organization or your workplace only if they are getting something in return for their commitment, for their efforts. Okay, so what do they get in return? Wages, salaries, and other rewards. Okay, so basically you get salary, you get your salary and other rewards. Other rewards means sometimes some organizations provide facilities like medical insurance, likewise. Okay, so it can be considered as other rewards. Okay, so yeah, so you join an organization and perform various jobs, tasks, and functions. So in return, you get your salary and other rewards. Okay, so human resources or HR are basically the people or the human beings in your organization who carry out various jobs, tasks, and functions in your organization. Okay, so for carrying out these jobs, tasks, and functions, they get several things in return. So what do they get in return? They get their salaries and other rewards like medical insurance. Okay, so yeah, so now you know what are human resources. Okay, so human resources are basically humans who are resources, like resourceful humans, humans who are resources. Okay, so human resources are basically all the people, each and every single person, all the people who are working in an organization. Okay, so now you know what is now you just learned what are human resources. So now we are going to learn what is human resource management. Okay, so these are two different things, guys. Do not get them confused. Human resources and human resource management are not the same thing. They are different. They are totally different. Human resources are the people or the human beings. The human resources are the humans, the people. Human resource management is about how you manage these humans. Okay, so resources means only the people, only the humans. Human resource management means how you manage these humans. Okay, so they are two different things. Human resources and human resource management are two different things. They are not the same. Okay, so do not get them confused. Okay, so this is how we can define human resource management. Okay, so guys, give me 1 second. Guys, can you all hear me again?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. So we learned what are human resources. So now let's look into human resource management. So what is human resource management? Yes, so the process, human resource management, is the process of planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the procurement, development, compensation, integration, maintenance, and separation of organizational human resources to the end that organizational, individual, and societal needs are satisfied. Okay, so when you are running an organization, there are organizational goals to be met. There are individual goals to be met, and there are societal needs or societal goals to be met or to be satisfied. Okay, so there are these organizational needs, individual needs, and societal needs to be satisfied when you are running an organization. Okay, so human resource management is about managing your human resources, managing the people that you have inside your organization to meet these organizational, individual, and societal needs. Okay, so human resource management is about managing your people, managing your humans, managing your people, managing the people in your workplace in order to meet the organizational needs, individual needs, and societal needs. Okay, so simply human resource management is about that. Okay, so in human resource management, what basically happens is we are managing the people, we are managing our human resources, we are managing the people that we have in our organization in order to meet organizational needs, individual needs, and societal needs. Okay, so human resource management is that. It's about managing human resources. It's about managing people in your organization to meet organizational, individual, and societal needs. Okay, so Yeah, so human resource management includes all activities used to attract and retain employees and to ensure they perform at a high level in meeting organizational goals. Okay, so yeah, so when it comes to human resource management, we should hire employees, right? We should attract employees. Attract employees means we should hire employees. And once you hire employees, you should retain your employees as well. Okay, so it is very important for us to retain the employees as well because uh, retain means, what does the word retain means? Retain means keeping your employees for a, I mean, like retain means how long does a person retain in your workplace? Okay, so for example, um, so for example, if I joined a certain organization in this month, let's assume I joined a certain organization in August, and I give my resignation in October. So I give my resignation basically after 2 months. 2 months after joining, right? I join in August and I give my resignation in October. Okay, so how long have I stayed there? Only for 2 months. Okay, so which means I didn't retain in the organization, right? I worked only for 2 months. After 2 months, I gave my resignation, for an example. Okay, so that means I didn't retain in that organization, right? So retain means that. So if I joined, for example, if I joined a certain organization in August this year, and if I give my resignation in August 2024, then I have retained in the organization, in that particular organization. Okay, so now I think you understand what retain means. Okay, so retain means how long, basically retain means how long are you going to stay in that organization. Okay, so if you stay for a very short period of time, we don't consider it as retaining. If you stay for a long period of time, then we can consider it as retaining. Okay, so when it comes to human resource management, just recruiting your employees is, I mean, uh, just recruiting your employees is not sufficient. Okay, so yes, you have to, in human resource management, when you do human resource management, you should recruit, you should hire employees. At the same time, you should retain your employees as well. Okay, because if you hire, there is no point if you hire 10 employees today and all of them resigned 2 months later. I mean, for example, let's say you hire 50 employees today and let's say let's assume they handed over their resignation 2 months later. So there is no point, right? No point of hiring 50 employees because they all didn't retain. They just stayed in the organization for a very short period of time. So there is no retaining. Okay, so when it comes to human resource management, recruiting and retaining, both are equally important. It is very important to recruit employees or hire employees. At the same time, it is equally important to retain them as well. Okay, and in human resource management, we also should ensure that everybody performs well. You have to make sure that all the people in your organization perform at a high level. Like you should make sure that all the um, people in your workplace perform well. Perform at a high level means high performance. Well, performing well. Okay, we have to make sure that all the people are performing well in our organization. Okay, so human resource management is basically made up of 5 activities. Okay, so these are the 5 activities. You can see the 5 activities in this slide. So these are the uh, 5 activities that human resource management is made up of. Okay, so HRM or human resource management is shortly called HRM. Okay, so HRM is made up of these 5 activities: recruitment and selection, training and development, performance appraisal and feedback, pay and benefits, labor relations. Okay, so these are called HRM, these activities. So I just told you 5 activities, right? So these 5 activities are called HRM components as well, because they are 5 major components in human resource management. So these 5 activities that we discussed just now, these 5 activities, they are called HRM components. Okay, so we have 5 HRM components: recruitment, training and development, performance appraisal and feedback, pay and benefits, labor relations. So let me tell you, let me briefly describe each component. Okay, so what is recruitment? First of all, let's start off with recruitment. Okay, so recruitment means basically hiring. Recruitment means hiring people. Okay, so when you recruit people, you need to select people, right? I mean, so once you post, for example, once you, I mean, why is it important for you to select people? Because once you post a job advertisement, let's say you post a job advertisement on Top Jobs website. So there are thousands and hundred thousands of people checking the Top Jobs website, right? I mean, basically, like each and every single person who is looking for a job checks that website. Okay, so if you post a job advertisement on Top Jobs website or on LinkedIn or in anywhere, you will get many CVs, right? Many people will apply for that job. You will not get just 2 or 3 CVs. Like you will get 50 CVs, 100 CVs, or even like thousands of CVs. Lots of people will apply for it. Lots of people will send their CVs to you. Okay, so but are we going to hire all those 50 people, 100 people, or 1,000 people? No, right? We are going to hire only maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe 1, maybe 2, maybe 3. Likewise, we are going to hire only a specific number of people, right? We are not going to hire all those people who send us the CVs. Okay, so we get CVs from thousands or hundreds of people, but we are not going to recruit all of them. We are going to select. We are going to select just 2 or 3, 10 or 15 or 20 people from those people who applied for the job, right? So basically we are selecting people, right? We go through their CVs, we check their qualifications, we check their prior working experience, and we check their soft skills, and then we select people. Okay, so selection is about selecting people based on their qualifications and potential for a job. Okay, so selection is about that. And then training and development. Okay, so once you hire a certain person to your organization, you should provide them with training and development. Okay, so like training is something that happens initially. Okay, so you can provide, it depends on the type of training, because you can provide training time to time as well. Okay, yeah, you can, it depends on the training. You can, I mean, there are some organizations who provide a training at the, I mean, there are some organizations who provide trainings once they hire you, and then they will never provide a training again. But there are some organizations who provide a training once they hire you, And then after some time, they provide another training. And then after some time, they provide a training again. Okay, so it depends on the organization. Training can happen only once, or else it can happen time to time as well. Okay, and development is something that happens throughout your um, throughout your work experience. Okay, so development is something that happens from the day that you join an organization until the day that you resign. Okay, so development is something that happens throughout. Okay, and then performance appraisal and feedback. Okay, so performance appraisal and feedback provides you information about how to train, motivate, and reward workers. So in performance appraisal, what basically happens is your managers will evaluate your performance. Okay, so the managers will evaluate your performance and they will give you feedback. Okay, so they will tell you what are the things that you are doing well and what are the things that you need to improve. What are the things that you are doing well and what are the things that you are not doing well. Okay, so they give their feedback. That is how performance appraisals work. Okay, so if your performance, so we like if your performance is good, if your performance is really good, if your managers are extremely happy with your performance, then you might get benefits like salary increments as well. Your salary will be increased or you will be promoted to a better position. Okay, so likewise, those are the benefits of performance appraisal. And then the next HRM component, pay and benefits. Okay, so pay and benefits. Pay means your salary and benefits means basically, as I told you earlier, benefits such as health insurance, reward membership in firm. Okay, so those are some examples for benefits. Okay, so pay means your salary and benefits means things like health insurance, medical insurance, and memberships. Okay, and the next HRM component, labor relations. Okay, so labor relations means managers need an effective relationship with labor unions that represent workers. Okay, so guys, so we don't have labor unions in very small organizations. Like if an organization has about only 50, like 40, 50 employees, then it's a small organization. So if like we don't have labor unions in such kind of small organizations, but like but the organizations that have a considerable number of staff, like hundreds of people, thousands of people. Okay, so likewise, the big organizations, the big companies have unions called labor unions. Okay, so labor unions are there to represent the workers. Okay, so labor union is a union of workers which is there in the organization to represent the workers. So if there are any discrimination for the workers in the workplace, the labor union will represent the workers and talk against the discrimination. Okay, so labor union is always a union which stands for the labor rights. Okay, so labor union is basically a union in an organization which represents the workers. They talk, they speak for the rights of the workers. Okay, so managers in an organization should work effectively with these labor unions. Okay, so the managers should maintain a good relationship, an effective relationship with these labor unions, because if you do not treat these labor union, if you do not handle these labor unions well, I mean, if you do not have an effective relationship with these labor unions, what are the consequences that can happen? the workers will strike. Some workers will leave the job. Okay, likewise, those are some consequences. So then it's very difficult for you to work in that organization, right? I mean, as a manager, it's very difficult if your staff resigns or if your staff strikes. It's very difficult for you to carry out the day-to-day functions, day-to-day tasks. Okay, so as managers, you should always have an effective relationship, a good relationship with the labor unions. Okay, so yeah, so these are the HRM components. Okay, if management moves to a decentralized structure, HRM should be adjusted as well. Okay, so now what is decentralized management? Okay, so yeah, decentralized management means, so okay, so there are two types of management: centralized management and decentralized management. Okay, in centralized management, only the top managers are making decisions. In centralized management, only the top managers are making decisions. Okay, so centralized management means only the top managers, the top level managers are making decisions. Decentralized management means the top managers, the middle level managers and the lower level managers, and also the people, uh, like people who are below lower level managers, again lower level managers ලටත් වඩා පහළ positions වල ඉන්න කට්ටිය ඉන්නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ ඒ හැමෝම එකතු වෙලා decision making කරනවා නම් we call it decentralized management. Okay, so in centralized management, decision making is done only by top level managers. In decentralized management, decision making is done by top level managers, middle level managers, lower level managers, and other people as well. Okay, so that is the difference between centralized management and decentralized management. Okay, so if the management of your company moves from, if the management of your company or the organization, if the management changes from centralized to decentralized, then the human resource management should also be adjusted accordingly. Okay, so guys, so far we discussed about HRM components, right? So we discussed a little bit about recruitment and selection, a little bit about training and development, a little bit about performance appraisal, a little bit about pay and benefits, and a little bit about labor relations. Okay, so now we are going to discuss about these things in detail. Okay, so we are going to discuss what is recruitment and selection in detail. And we are going to discuss what is training and development in detail, and performance appraisal, feedback, pay and benefits, labor relations in detail. Okay, so we are going to discuss each component in detail. Okay, so we can start off with the first component, recruitment and selection. Okay, so guys, before I start this topic, do you all have any questions? Like, is there anything that you didn't understand up to now? Yes, guys, are there any doubts or anything? Is there anything that you struggled to understand so far?
No, miss.
I am not.
Alright. All right. Okay. Okay. So yeah, so since it seems like you guys are clear about what we discussed so far, I will move on to the next topic. But if you have any questions, you can always unmute yourself and ask. Okay, or else you can put in the chat as well. Okay, all right. Okay, so now we can talk about recruitment and selection. Okay, so first of all, let's keep the selection aside a little bit and let's talk about the recruitment first. So we can talk about the recruitment first and then we can talk about the selection. Okay, so recruitment means, as I explained you guys earlier, recruitment is about hiring people to your organization. Okay, so when you are recruiting, when you are hiring people, there are two types of recruiting: external recruiting, internal recruiting. Okay, so external recruiting means managers look outside the firm for people who have not worked at the firm before. Okay, so external recruiting means you are hiring people from outside. You are hiring people from outside the company. Internal recruiting means you are hiring from inside the company. Okay, so internal recruiting means දැනට ඔයාගේ organization එකේ company එකේ දැනට work කරන අයගෙන්ම කට්ටියව hire කරනවා positions වලට. Okay, so for example, and external recruiting කියන්නේ out කියන්නේ company එකේ වැඩ කරන්නේ නැති outside environment එකෙන් මිනිස්සුන්ව hire කරනවා. So that is the difference between external recruiting and internal recruiting. So in external recruiting, you are hiring people from the outside environment, and internal recruiting means you are hiring people from your company itself. Okay, so for example, let's say you have a so let's say you have a senior manager position at your organization. Okay, so let's say you have a senior manager vacancy in your company. Okay, senior manager position එකට vacancy එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා හිතන්නකෝ. And assume you are hiring people for this position from the human resources that you have in your company itself. හරිද? ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් මේ senior manager position senior manager vacancy එකට මිනිස්සුන්ව hire ඔයා මේ senior manager vacancy එකට as an employer මේ senior manager vacancy එකට ඔයා ගන්න හිතන් ඉන්නේ දැනට junior managersලා විදිහට වැඩ කරන කට්ටියගෙන් එක්කෙනෙක්. So that means, like, let's say as an employer, you are planning to hire someone from your junior managers for the position of a senior manager. You are selecting one of your junior managers for the position of a senior manager. So in that case, you are hiring people from the company itself, right? You are hiring people from the company or the organization itself. So that is an example for an internal recruiting. That is how internal recruiting happens. Positions are filled within the firm. People are hired from the company or the organization itself. Okay, so external recruiting is the opposite of that. External recruiting means recruiting people or hiring people from the outside environment. Okay, so you are basically hiring the people who have not worked with you before. You are hiring people from the outside environment in external recruiting. Okay, so in external recruiting, when you do external recruiting, so the managers are the ones who recruit. So they advertise, the managers advertise the job vacancies in newspapers, hold open houses, and sometimes they recruit at universities and also on the internet. Okay, so external recruitment can be difficult sometimes because you are hiring people from outside, right? So you are basically hiring unknown people. You have not worked with these people before. So you don't know who are they and what kind of attitudes do they have. Are these people committed to work? Likewise, you don't know anything about them because you are hiring from outside. You are hiring people who have never worked with you before. Okay, so because of this, external recruitment can be a little bit difficult. Okay, and a multi-pronged approach to external recruiting works the best. Okay, so for external recruit, we have a specific approach called a multi-pronged approach. Okay, so a multi-pronged approach means a multi-pronged approach means like recruiting simultaneously. Okay, so for example, if you have if you have interviews and if you recruit at universities and if you recruit on the internet, so if you do all these things at the same time, okay, so you are to recruit, you are holding interviews, you are recruiting at universities, and you are also advertising on internet. So if you do all these things at the same time, like if you do all these things simultaneously, okay, that is called a multi-prong approach. A multi-prong approach means doing, I mean, uh, a multi-prong approach means trying various options at the same time, trying various options simultaneously. So if you hold interviews, if you recruit at universities, if you post on internet, so if you do all these three things simultaneously at the same time, this is a multi-prong approach. Okay, so it is an approach that you can follow for external recruiting. Okay, and in comparison to external recruiting, when you compare internal and external recruiting, internal recruiting can be a little bit easier. Okay, because internal recruiting has some benefits. Okay, because in internal recruiting, you are hiring people from your company itself, right? So these are the people you have already worked with. You know these people. They are your people, right? They are your employees. Okay, so you know them. You know about uh, the people who you are hiring. When it comes to internal recruiting, you are hiring people from your company itself, from your organization itself. So since you have worked with them, you already know about them. You know what kind of people they are, what kind of skills do they have, are they committed to work? Likewise, what are their qualities, what are their attitudes? You know everything about them since you have already worked with them. Okay, so because of that, internal recruiting can be easier than external recruiting. Okay, because managers already know their candidates. Okay, so that's how recruiting works. That's how recruitment works. And here, so the first component is recruitment and selection. Okay, so we discussed about recruitment. So now how does selection works? Okay, so how are we going to select people? Okay, so to select people, we can use some tools. Okay, so these tools are called selection tools. Okay, so here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 selection tools. Okay, so here are these are some tools that you can use to select people. These are called selection tools. Okay, so interviews, background information, references, paper tests. Yes. Are there any questions, guys? Okay. All right. So paper tests, physical ability tests, performance tests, interviews. So these are selection tools. Okay. So selection tools means the tools that you can use to select people. Okay. So now we can discuss about these tools in detail. Okay, so we can discuss about each tool in detail. So let's see what are background information. What are interviews? What are physical tests? Physical ability tests? What are paper and pencil tests? Likewise, we can discuss about the selection tools in detail. Okay, so what are background information? Okay, so a background information of a person means their education, their prior work experience, and their degree, their college major. Those are some examples for background information. Interview. Okay, so you know what an interview is, right? So there are basically two types of interviews: structured interviews and unstructured interviews. Okay, so structured interviews means managers ask a, a specific set of questions from each person. Okay, so let's, for example, let's say they prepare, the managers prepare, for example, the managers prepare a question set of 10 questions, and they ask these same 10 questions from everyone who comes for the interview. So if there are 10 people to interview, they will ask these same 10 questions from all the 10 people. Okay, එකම question set එක interview එකට එන හැමෝගෙම අහනවා. The same question set is being asked from all the people who are coming to the interview. The managers ask each person the same job related questions. They ask same questions from each and every person coming for the interview. Okay, so that is a structured interview. Unstructured interview means a normal conversation. Okay, so there are no questions. There are no questions. There are there are no questions in there are no there are questions, but there are no pre-made questions in the unstructured interview, because in a structured interview you have to make the question set before you start the interview, right? So those are pre-made questions. So there are no such pre-made questions when it comes to unstructured interviews, because unstructured interviews happens just like a normal conversation, just like 2 or 3 people talking. Okay, unstructured, why do we call it unstructured interview? Because it is not structured, it is unstructured. Okay, so there are no pre-made questions in an unstructured interview. It happens just like a normal conversation. Okay? And yeah, so from structured interviews and unstructured interviews, usually structured interviews are preferred. Usually it is believed that structured interviews are better than unstructured interviews. Okay, and then another selection tool is physical ability tests. Okay, so for some jobs, you need a certain amount of physical fitness, right? There are some jobs for which you need a certain amount of physical fitness, a certain amount of physical abilities. Okay, so a physical ability test is to measure your strength and your physical abilities, to check whether your physical abilities suit the job or not. Okay, just to make sure whether you are strong enough to do your job or not. Okay, and then we have paper and pencil tests to select people. It's another selection tool. Okay, so paper and pencil tests means written tests basically. Okay, so so there can be several paper and there can be several types of paper and pencil tests. Okay, so such as ability test and personality test. Okay, so ability test and personality test are two types of paper and pencil tests. Okay, so ability tests, an ability test usually checks your knowledge or your skills for the job. How knowledgeable you are or how skilled you are for this job. Okay, so ability test is basically to check your skills or your knowledge. Personality test is to evaluate your personality. Like what kind of personality traits do you have? What kind of characteristics do you have in your attitude? Likewise. Okay, so that is how a personality test happens. A personality test is to test your personality, test your attitude. Okay, and yeah, so you will be given with a paper and a pencil or a pen. So you need to, so in an ability test, there will be subject related questions. So you have to answer those questions by using your pencil or pen and your paper. And for the personality test also, once again, you will receive a paper which carries questions about your personality. Okay, so you have to answer these questions. So the managers will be able to recognize what kind of a personality and attitude do you have and whether that personality suits this job or not. Okay, and then so that's about paper and pencil tests. And another selection tool is performance tests. Okay, so performance test is a test that we can use to measure the job performance. How well are you performing in the job? Okay, so performance test means a test that measures your job performance. Okay, and the next selection tool is references. Okay, so references means the people who recommend you. Okay, so you can select people from references as well. I mean, I'm very sure you guys have made CVs in your life at some point in your life. Okay, so in a CV also, at last we put referees or references. We put usually 2 or 3 people, right? At least 2 people we put as references or referees. Okay, so these people are basically the people who are recommending us for the job, right? So references means that. References means outside people who are recommending us for the job. Okay, so you can select people based on the references provided as well. Okay, so when it comes to these selection tools must be reliable and valid. Okay, so now what is reliability and what is validity? Okay, so reliability means the degree to which the tool measures the same thing each time it is used. Okay, so so we discussed about some paper and pencil tests previously, right? So if the same person take the same test several times, then that test is not reliable, right? If the same person takes the same test several times, then the test will not be reliable. The test results will not be reliable. Okay, so you should make sure as a manager, you should make sure that your selection tools are reliable. That you should make sure that you can rely on your selection tools. And then your selection tools should be valid as well. Okay, so validity means does the test measure what it is supposed to measure? So each selection tool has a certain thing that it is supposed to measure. So you need to make sure to check whether the test measures what it is supposed to measure or not. I mean, for example, does a physical ability test really predict the job performance of a firefighter? Okay, so let's say you are hiring a person for a firefighter vacancy. Let's say you are hiring a person as a firefighter for a firefighter vacancy. So to be a firefighter, yes, you need a certain amount of physical ability, but more than physical ability, you should have a huge theoretical knowledge as well. Right? The physical ability is important, of course, but just physical ability, only physical ability is not sufficient. You should have some amount of a theoretical knowledge as well. So if you use only physical ability tests, to hire a firefighter, that will not be valid, because other than physical ability, you should check their theoretical knowledge as well. Okay, so that is an example. Just a physical ability for a firefighter is not sufficient. You should check their knowledge. You should check their awareness as well. Okay, so you should make sure, as managers, we should make sure that our selection tools are valid. So there should be reliability and validity when it comes to selection tools. Okay, and then, so we were talking about HRM components, right? So we discussed about recruitment and selection. And now we will talk about the second HRM component, which is training and development. Okay. Guys, give me 1 second again. Guys, can you all hear me again?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yes, so training and development. Okay, so training is provided um, to teach your members how to perform your job role. Okay, so once you are hired for a certain job, there is a specific job role that you have to perform, that you have to do, right? Okay, so I mean, so my job at Somerset Institute is a lecturer. So my job role is to do the lectures, to prepare the lecture materials properly, and to issue assignments, to mark assignments. Uh, Likewise. Okay, so there is a job role for each and every job. Okay, so a training is provided to teach your organizational members how to perform your job, how to perform your job role. Okay, and development is something that happens throughout. Okay, so development build workers skills to enable them to take on new duties. Okay, so development is not something that happens just in few days or just in few months. Development is something that happens throughout someone's career. Okay, so that is how training and development work. Okay, so there are two main types of development. Okay, varied work experiences. Okay, so varied work experiences means if a certain person has different work experiences, if they have done different types of jobs in their life. If so, varied work experiences means different work experiences, having different work experiences, various work experiences. Okay, so so if a certain person has various work experiences, that means that person probably has a really good development, because when you have various work experiences, it develops you so well because you are exposed to various experiences, right? You are exposed to various jobs, various tasks, various duties. So it really helps you to develop or improve yourself. Okay, so if like someone who has various work experiences or different work experiences probably has a really good development in them as well. Okay, and formal education. Okay, so a formal education is another method through which you can provide development to people. Okay, so for example, there are some organizations who provide classes or tuition as in like classes for managers taking their MBAs. There are some organizations who do that, like providing classes or providing academic support for the managers who are currently doing their MBA or other degrees. Okay, so that is also very important for their development, right? So formal education is another method through which you can provide development to people. Okay, so whatever training and development efforts used, results must be transferred to the workplace. Okay, so what is the purpose of providing all these trainings and developments to people? To make them skilled so that you can get good results in your organization, right? Because when you have a well-trained and well-developed staff in your organization, you can, as an organization, you can get a lot of benefits. You can increase your profits. Um, you can attract more customers. You can gain a better reputation in the society. So all these benefits are there if your staff is well trained and well developed, right? So this is the point. So why does an organization provide training and development? These are the reasons. Because when their staff is well trained and well developed, they can make more money, they can make more income, they can attract more customers, and they can have a better reputation in the society as well. I mean, the organization can make more income, the organization can attract more customers, and the organization can have a better reputation in the society if their staff is well trained and well developed. So that is the point of providing these trainings and developments. Okay, so now we are going to the third HRM component, performance appraisal and feedback. Okay, so in performance appraisal, as we discussed earlier, what happens in performance appraisal is your managers are evaluating your performance. Your managers evaluate your performance and they give their feedback. They will tell you what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, what are the things that you are doing well, and what are the things that you are not doing well. And if there are anything that you are not doing well, how can you improve yourself? How can you do it well? Likewise, the managers evaluate your performance and they give their feedback. That is how performance appraisal works. Okay, so there are several types of performance appraisals. Self-appraisal, peer appraisal, 360-degree appraisal. Okay, so these are some three main types of performance appraisals. Okay, so self-appraisal means you are evaluating your own self. Self-appraisal means that. Self-appraisal means you are evaluating your own self. Peer appraisal means your peers are evaluating your performance. Peers means colleagues, your co-workers. Peer appraisal means that your co-workers evaluating you. 360-degree appraisal means everybody evaluating you. 360-degree appraisal එකකදී work 360-degree appraisal එකක් කියන්නේ හැමෝම ඔයාව evaluate කරනවා. ඒ කියන්නේ managers, supervisors and ඔයාගේම level එකේ ඉන්න අනිත් co-workers ලා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. And the directors, the board of directors. likewise. Likewise. Everyone evaluates you in a 360-degree appraisal. So that's why we call it 360-degree. 360-degree means an entire circle. Ne? So that's why we call it 360-degree appraisal. In a 360-degree appraisal, everybody evaluates you, like the managers, the supervisors, your colleagues, the directors, everyone get together and evaluate you. Like all the people evaluate, like several people like managers, directors, supervisors, several people evaluate your performance in a 360-degree appraisal. Okay, so these are three main types of performance appraisals. Okay, so in performance appraisals, there is a possibility for errors as well. Okay, because performance appraisals are not done by machines, right? Performance appraisals are done by people. They are done by humans. So there can be some errors in this performance appraisal. Okay, so there is a common error in there is like, so an example for such an error is central tendency error. Central tendency error is an error which might happen in performance appraisals sometimes. Okay, so now what is central tendency error? Central tendency error means everyone ranked as average. So central tendency error means there are no low performing people, there are no high performing people, everybody is ranked as average performing people. Everybody is ranked as average. That is called central tendency error. And when it comes to performance appraisal, we have this thing called leniency as well. Leniency means being biased. Okay, so if you are biased, if as a manager, if you are biased, you are not supposed to be biased, but if you are biased towards a certain person, you will rank them higher than they deserve, right? You will rank them higher than what they actually deserve. So leniency is about people being ranked, individuals being ranked higher than they deserve. Okay, so these are some stuff that can happen in performance appraisals. Okay, so who carries out performance appraisals? Okay, so these are the sources of performance appraisals. Sources means the people who carry out performance appraisals. Supervisors, peers, self means your own self. Subordinates means your colleagues, customers and clients. So these are the kind of people who carry out performance appraisals. These are the sources of performance appraisals. Okay, so that's about performance appraisal and feedback. Okay, so now we can start discussing about the next HRM component, which is pay and benefits. Okay, so pay means your salary. Okay, so pay means basically your salary, and benefits are other benefits like health insurance and daycare. Okay, so those are some examples for benefits. Okay, so when it comes to benefits, there is a thing called cafeteria style plan. Okay, so according to this cafeteria style plan, employee can choose the best mix of benefits for them. But it can be hard to manage. So okay now, so let me explain this. So so when you go to a cafeteria, you don't eat all the food in the cafeteria, right? You just choose the food that you like. You choose only the food that you like. You don't eat everything. You just choose what you like. Only what you like. Only the food items that you like. Okay, so when it comes to benefits also, some organizations have this plan called cafeteria style plan. So in this cafeteria style plan, employees can choose the benefits that they like. Okay, so the organization has mentioned the kind of benefits that they can provide. And from that list, you choose the benefits that you like to have. Okay, so let's say a certain organization makes a list of benefits, which can a list of benefits, and this list has 10 benefits. But employees are allowed to choose only 5 benefits. Let's say each employee is allowed to choose, nobody is allowed to have all these 10 benefits. You are allowed to choose only 5. Okay, so person A, let's say person A is an employee, so he goes and choose the 5 benefits that he likes. And person B goes and choose the 5 benefits that he likes. And person C goes and choose the 5 benefits that he or she likes. Okay, so every employee can choose the benefits that they prefer. Okay, so from the organization side, this can be hard to manage because, because everyone's choices are going to be different, right? I choose something, the other person choose something, and the next person choose something completely different. Likewise, the people's choices are different, right? So this cafeteria style plan is really good for the employees because they can choose the benefits as they prefer. But from the organization's side, for the organization, it will be hard to manage because of the diversity of choices. It will be hard to manage for the organization. But for the employee, it's really good because you get to choose what you like. Okay, and yeah, so now we'll talk a little bit about the pay. Okay, so pay means your base wage. Okay, so base wage means your salary, your basic salary. Okay, so so there can be 2 types of pays, 2 types of wages, 2 types of salaries. One is job-based pay and one is competency-based pay. Okay, so job-based pay means you are paid for the job that you are doing. Job-based pay means your salary is based on the job. You are paid for the job that is done. Competency-based pay means you are being paid for your skills, knowledge, and experience. You are being paid for your competency. Competency means your skills, knowledge, and experience. So in job-based pay, you are paid for the job. In competency-based pay, you are paid for your skills, knowledge, and experience. Okay, and then in addition to your basic wage, in addition to your basic salary, there are incentives, right? Incentives are basically the bonuses and also the additions to your salary. Okay, so for example, additions means the allowances. Okay, so sometimes some organizations provide travel allowance and accommodation allowance. Likewise. Okay, so base wage means your basic salary, and incentive pay means your incentives, your bonuses and your allowances, the other additional payments that you are getting. Okay, so incentives means basically the additions. Okay, so there are several types of individual incentives. There are several types of incentives. Okay, so these are the several types of incentives: piece rate incentives, commissions, bonuses, merit based seniority. So piece rate means you are paid for each output, like you are paid for each task that you do. You are paid for each output in piece rate incentives. Commissions means you get paid from percentage of sales or profits. Okay, so that is how commissions work. You get paid from percentage of sales or profits. Bonuses, you know what bonuses are, right? So bonuses are also additional payments. And merit pay. Okay, so merit pay means you are getting paid for your previous performances. If your previous performances are really good, you will get merit pays. The merit pay is about paying for your previous. Merit pay means you are getting paid for your previous performances. Seniority means your pay increases over time. When you get senior, your pay increases over time, right? So that is seniority. Okay, so in seniority means getting senior over time. Okay, so when you get senior over time, your pay also increases. Okay, so those are some types of individual incentives. Okay, so those are individual incentives. So now here you can see team or organizational incentives. Okay, so there are some incentives. There are some additional payments received by teams or received by groups of people. Okay, so those are called team or organizational incentives. Okay, so these are here in this slide. You can see some examples for team or organizational incentives. Gain sharing. One example is gain sharing. Okay, so gain sharing means benefit, right? So teams of employees share in gains from improvements in productivity or cost saving measures. Okay, so gain sharing means gain means benefits. Okay, so gain sharing means you are sharing the benefits. You are sharing the benefits, you are sharing the gain with other people, with few other people. Okay, that is what happens in gain sharing. Profit sharing means you are sharing the profit with few other people. Okay, so for example, if there is a 10% profit, you can share this profit among 5 people. Each person will take 2%. Likewise. Okay, so you share the profit among few people. That is how profit sharing works. And then stock ownership. Okay, so stock ownership means buying stocks. Okay, so stock, what is a stock? Stock is a part of an organ. I mean, what is like buying stocks means what? Buying stocks means you are buying a part or a portion of an organization or a company. Okay, so buying stocks means you are buying parts of an organization or of a company, buying parts of an organization or a company. Okay, so when you buy stocks, yes, you can buy them alone, but you can buy them in groups as well. You can get together with few of your friends and buy a stock of a company. Okay, so you can buy them as a team as well. Okay, so that is how okay, so far we talked about pay and benefits. Okay. Okay, so the last HRM component is labor relations. Okay, so I told you labor relations means just like few minutes ago, when I explained you the HRM components, I told you labor relations means the managers. What is the meaning of labor relations? I told you guys that labor relations means the managers should have good relationships with the labor unions. Labor relations is about having labor relations is about managers having good relationships, effective relationships with labor unions. And labor unions are there to protect labor rights, right? So these labor rights, have been, so where does this labor rights come from? Labor rights කියන ඒවා කොහෙන්ද එන්නේ? Labor rights are mentioned in acts and regulations that we have in the country, right? Labor rights come from acts and regulations which are passed by the country's parliament. Okay, so these acts and regulations, these documents are called legislation. Okay, legislation means that these acts and regulations, the documents that talk about labor rights are called legislation. Okay, so there are three types of legislation. There are three types of labor legislation. Pro-union legislation. Pro-union legislation means the laws that were made in 1920s and 1930s. Union restriction legislation are the laws made in 1940s and 1950s. Equal employment legislation are the laws made in 1960s to present, up until now, from 1960s to up until now. Okay, so these are the three main types of labor legislations. Okay, so here are some examples for pro-union legislation. Okay, Railway Labour Act made in 1926. Federal Insurance Contribution Act made in 1935. Okay, so yeah. So guys, just give me 1 minute. I will be back. Guys, can you all hear me again?
Yes, miss.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we stopped at Railway Labour Act, right? So Railway Labour Act was made in 1926. So so this so this act talks about the right of workers to engage in labor organizing activity without fear of employer discrimination. Okay, so like this is an act which mentions that the workers have a right to engage, to take part in labor organizing activities without any fear of their employers. Okay, and this act was made in 1926. And there is another act called Federal Insurance Contribution Act made in 1935. So both these acts fall under pro-union labor legislation. Okay, and then there is another act called Wagner National Labor Relations Act. Okay, so this act was made in 1935. So it also falls under pro-union labor legislation. Okay, so this act basically talks about the equality. Okay, so this act talks about these unfair practices. This act mentions, this Wagner and National Labor Relations Act mentions that these practices should be prevented. Interference with organizing, domination, discrimination in hiring, discrimination against those filing charges, refusal to bargain collectively. Okay, so these are the 5 unfair practices outlawed according to this Wagner and National Labor Relations Act made in 1935. Okay, and then we also have an act called Fair Labor Standards Act made in 1938. Yeah, made in 1938. Okay, so this act talks about minimum wages, minimum salaries, and how workers should be paid for overtime. And this act also talks a little bit about the commissions, salaries, or tips. Okay, so these are the main things discussed by this Fair Labor Standards Act. Okay, and then in 1947, this act was made. Taft-Hartley Act, Labor Management Relations Act. Taft-Hartley Act, which was made in 1947. Okay, so this Taft-Hartley Act was made to criticize the Wagner Act. So we discussed about the Wagner Act here, right? So this Taft-Hartley Act was made in 1947 to criticize the Wagner Act. Okay, so the Wagner Act that we discussed earlier was a little bit biased towards unions. Okay, and so this Taft-Hartley Act criticized the Wagner Act for being biased towards unions, and this act also limited the right of workers, the right of free speech by employers. Okay, so so the Taft-Hartley Act is basically an act which criticized the Wagner Act for being biased towards unions, and it also limited the right of free speech by employers. Okay, and so these are also some points mentioned in the Taft-Hartley Act. Recognition of supervisor unions not required, and 1 certification election per year. So certification election means, guys, in a union, like for a union, you need a leader, right? You need when it comes to a labor union, you need a leader to represent the entire union. So then university batch we have a batch representative to represent the entire batch. Likewise, when it comes to a labor union, you need 1 person to be the leader of that union, right? So to appoint that leader, you need an election. So that election of appointing the leader is called certification election. So you might be wondering, what is this certification election? Certification election කියන්නේ the election that you use to choose a leader for your union. Okay, so that is called certification election. So according to this Taft-Hartley Act, you are allowed to have one certification election per year. And decertification elections are also allowed. Okay, so decertification elections is the opposite of certification election. So certification election means electing a leader for the union, right? So if you are not happy, like if the majority of the union is not happy with the union, you can cancel the union by going for a decertification election. So if the majority in the union are not happy with the union, if majority of the union are dissatisfied about the union, you have to cancel your current union and you have to make another new union, right? You need to cancel this current union and you need to make a new one. Okay, so to cancel the current union, you need decertification election. So in decertification election, everyone will vote. Everyone will in the decertification election, everyone will vote whether they like to cancel the union or not. Like that is the purpose of decertification election, for the people to express their like or dislike for cancelling the current union and making a new one. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ දැන් තියෙන union එක cancel කරලා අලුත් union එකක් හදන්න union එකේ ඉන්න මිනිස්සු කැමතිද නැද්ද? කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් කැමතිද කොච්චර ප්‍රමාණයක් කැමති නැද්ද කියලා බලන්න තමයි we have decertification election, for the people to express their like or dislike to cancel the current union and make a new one. Okay, and then there is another act called Landrum-Griffin Act, made in 1959. Okay, so this act basically talks about internal union activities. Okay, so this act basically talks about stuff like right to nominate and right to vote and filing of reports with the Secretary of Labour. Okay, so these are the kind of things mentioned in this Landrum-Griffin Act. Okay, and then we have this Equal Pay Act made in 1963. Okay, so according to Equal Pay Act, men and women must be paid equally when they are doing equal work. Okay, so that is the main point of Equal Pay Act, that the men and women must be paid equally when they are doing the same job. Okay, and then we have Civil Rights Act made in 1964. So according to this Civil Rights Act is basically to protect the civil rights of workers. Okay, so the Civil Rights Act mentions that you should prohibit discrimination in all phases of employment based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. So according to the Civil Rights Act, people should not be discriminated on their race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. That is the main main thing mentioned in the Civil Rights Act. Okay, and then we have acts which talk about individual rights as well. Okay, so we have Age Discrimination Act made in 1967. So this act protects the people over 40, the people who are more than 40 years old. And then in 1970, Occupational and Safety Health Act was made. Occupational and Safety Health Act was made in 1970. So this act talks about how to provide a safe and healthy workplace for your workers. Okay, so that is the main teaching of this Occupational and Safety Health Act. This act talks about how to provide a safe and healthy workplace for your workers. Okay, so because when you are working in your workplace, yeah, when you are working in your workplace, you might probably deal with dangerous equipment and dangerous chemicals, right? Okay, so you will have to deal with dangerous equipments and harmful chemicals. Okay, so when you are handling these stuff, when you are handling dangerous equipment and when you are handling harmful chemicals, you should know how to handle them, right? You should know how to handle dangerous equipment without getting injured. You should know how to handle harmful chemicals without falling sick, without getting injured by them. Okay, so Occupational and Safety Health Act talk about how to provide a safe workplace, a safe and healthy work environment for the workers, especially when they are dealing with stuff like dangerous equipment and harmful chemicals. Okay, so the OSHA is not a person. OSHA means Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA. Okay, so in short form, we call it OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. Okay, so it is an agency in United States. It is an agency located in United States of America, which is responsible of ensuring occupational health and safety of workers. Okay, so that agency, the OSHA agency, was also established under this Occupational and Safety Health Act made in 1970. Okay, and then we have Equal Employment Opportunity Act made in 1972. And we have Americans with Disabilities Act made in 1990. Okay, so Americans with Disabilities Act is an act which applies for United States. It was made in 1990. So according to this act, the people should not be discriminated. I mean, the people with disabilities should not be discriminated. That is the main teaching of this act. Americans with Disabilities Act made in 1990. So it basically tells you that the workers should not be discriminated for having disabilities. And then we have Civil Rights Act made in 1991. So Civil Rights Act is to protect the civil rights of people, to protect the civil rights of workers. Okay, so yeah, so those are some acts that talk about individual rights. Acts that talk about rights of individuals. Okay, so guys, that's it for today's lecture. Do y'all have any questions? Do y'all have any questions regarding the lecture, or if you have any questions regarding the assignment also, you can ask. Do y'all have any sort of questions?
Here both assignment we should have to give on 9th September, no?
7th September, ne?
Sorry,
Taranga?
7th September.
Yes, yeah.
Both together we have to give, no?
Both as in Taranga?
Now task 1 and task 2 because
Yes.
other lectures gave that as a 1 task and 2 tasks separately. So
Okay, yeah.
here we have to submit both together, no? Task 1 and task 2.
Yes, Taranga. Don't do separate, as I told you guys earlier, do not do separate 2 assignments for task 1 and 2. Inside one assignment, you should, for my subject, inside one assignment, you should have both task 1 and task 2. In one assignment, you should have both task 1 and task 2. And yes, both the tasks should be submitted on 7th of September. Okay, so you are doing only one assignment. In that assignment, you should have task 1 and 2 both, and you should submit it on 7th September. Is that clear?
Yes, miss.
All right.
So both the tasks should be in one Microsoft document, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I wanted to mean. Both the tasks in one Word document.
And well as we have to add what you send those things, also we have to follow, no? Attach, no? That the things that assignment, that
Cover page.
information, that kind of things, we have to add it, no?
Yes, Taranga, yes. So you have the um, uh, I mean, you have that Word document that I gave to you guys, right? That Word document that contains all the instructions. So what you can do is like you have some things to fill up: your name, your contact, your email addresses, all that. Okay, so once you fill it, at the end, you have a plagiarism declaration page as well that you have to sign. So once you sign it, press the enter key and start typing from next page onwards. You don't have to attach things separately. It's already there.
Yes.
That is the easiest thing to do. So fill in all your information, type enter key until you reach a new page, and from uh, that point onwards you can start typing your assignment. So එතකොට අර තියෙන්න ඕනේව ටික කොහොමත් already you have at the beginning. Cover pages, the plagiarism page and everything. That is the best thing to do. And Pubudu, yeah, I saw your question. Yeah, about a grace period, right? So Pubudu, the thing is, according to autumn assignment guidelines, they have not mentioned anything about a grace period. They have not instructed us to give any grace periods, but I will I will discuss with the Somerset Institute if there is any chance to provide grace periods or not. Okay, and I will let you know in the group. I will talk to the GM, Mr. Richard, and see if we can allow any grace period or not.
And also, Miss, please remind the autumn registration number.
Yes. Autumn registration number that I have to remind to Malki. Yes.
I
Did
told her, she told that before the that 7th September they will provide.
Okay, Taranga. All right. I will remind her as well. Okay. So if you are getting it before 7th, then no problem. But yeah, but I will remind her as well. And yes, Pubudu, I will ask that question from the GM and I'll let you guys know in the group, in our WhatsApp group. Okay, so guys, any more questions? Okay, so since it seems like you all don't have any more questions, I will end the session now. Okay, so I will end the session now. I will upload this lecture note. It is already in the WhatsApp group. I will upload this to the Teams class notebook as well. Okay, and yeah, if you have, while you are doing the assignment, if you have any issue, yes.
Only one question. Now
Yes,
we have to
Taranga.
upload the things to that Teams, no? That assignment.
No, Taranga, no, do not,
No.
guys, no. Don't upload your assignments to Teams. I will give you an email address. You need to email your assignment to that email address. හරිද Teams එකට මුකුත් upload කරන්න එපා. Teams එකට මම assignment එක upload කරේ just as a formality. හරිද? So ඕගොල්ලෝ submit කරද්දී you do not submit it on Teams. I will give you an email address. September 7th Langunahama, I will give you an email address. So you guys just have to email your assignment to that email address. That's how you submit. Okay. All right, guys. So if you have any more questions while doing the assignment, you guys can always text me on WhatsApp. So I will get back to you. Okay. So for today, I will stop the session now. Okay. And I will upload the slides in a while to the class notebook. Okay. So guys, have a nice weekend. I'll see you next week again.
Thank you, Miss.
No worries, guys.
You
Have a
too.
nice day.
Thank you, Miss.
No worries, guys. Bye bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
No worries. Bye bye.